Welcome. My name is Jared. I'm here with I Am Recovery. Today I want to talk about the power of acceptance. Acceptance is a topic we talk about a lot in recovery, and it's integral in changing a mindset from one of woe is me, victim mentality, to one of this is just kind of how it is. Maybe life isn't actually very fair. And instead of taking that position of victim, you're moving more to a position of a human doing, not just a human being. I'm going to go into that a little bit further. We see that in the Serenity Prayer right from the beginning. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So we know it's a key part of growth, of change, is the acceptance piece, but why? Why is it so important? I'll go a little bit further into that here in a minute, but first I want you to take a look at these two quotes. The one on the left says, "See the world not as it is, but as it should be." So that's kind of a perspective. You're looking at, well, let's look at the positive. Let's shift our thinking over to what things should be. Now, the part I don't like about the should be is that it kind of puts you the responsibility in a different place. The world needs to be something else. I can't accept it as it is. Then you take over here and you look at this other quote and it says, "The world is as it should be." Now that may not feel fair. They may not feel right. There's horrible things going on all the time, all over the world. But it is. It is what it is. And if you can look at it that way, it actually does a little something to your brain. It helps you expand your perspective. So let's go into that a little bit further in a minute. I'll just take a little deeper look at it here. If I could define enlightenment briefly, I would say it is a quiet acceptance of what is. So we're looking at accepting life as it is, what it is, instead of woe is me, I'm a victim. No offense, we're victims at times in our life, and it hurts and it sucks, and we're all going to be in that position, but we can't stay there forever. We can no longer delay and postpone and wait for the world to change. We can do a few other things. So let's look at what it does when we learn to accept our situation as it is, and maybe start to live our life anyway. And that's kind of the premise of acceptance is life's going to suck at times, but we can still live our life. So look at this little comic here. You can't get rid of your fears, but you can learn to live with them. More tea? So the brain actually has a pattern of development, and this isn't mine. I'm not taking credit for it, but it's a nice example of showing what happens to the brain that locks us in where we don't accept things very well. So if you look at the top, it shows trauma history or other things that happen that are hard for us. And if you follow it down, let's just go this way, you see it reduces your awareness, it prevents your exposure to learning. We get scared, we're frozen, we're fight, flight, or freeze. We're locking ourselves in, and our world gets smaller. It literally gets smaller in our mind and in our life. And we get more scared, more anxious, and life isn't as acceptable. And that's where a lot of people turn to their addiction, is they've had a traumatic past. Over 90% of addicts in recovery have had some sort of severe trauma. Let's remember, trauma is different for all of us, but it's a form of severe stress. And in that space of all this trauma, our world has gotten smaller. Our innocence is lost, or things are more difficult, things have gotten smaller, and it can convert and turn into what we know as disorders like PTSD, borderline personality disorder, psychosis, anxiety, depression, and a whole bunch of assortment of disorders. It can be, or it can be something smaller, or little bits and pieces of all of them. And what happens is it actually alters our brain. Our brain has I can't even say the right word, but it's almost like plastic. It's very placid. Is that the word? Can't remember. Placid is the word. It's always moving and molding. Even in this conversation today, where we've been showing these things, your brain has made some adjustments in learning, and it's fired off new neurons that are connecting, and they're forming new brain links, and it's creating new feelings and expressions. So when we have these difficult trauma moments, it creates more of a solid form of your brain of this is what it is. This is now your version of reality is that the world is hard, the world is bad, I'm a victim. And it makes you feel very small and contributes to a lot of those negative things that we've seen. So there is this other piece of this where we can kind of tap in to our past, or we can tap into our current feelings of things, And if we can accept them and start to live with them, yeah, life is hard and I'm going to go do something with my day. Or an example would be your friends or your family want to go see a movie and you're feeling like using, or you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling sad and anxious. So you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to stay home and I'm going to use or do something else. Instead, you switch that. Well, I feel crappy. Yeah, I do. I don't feel very good, and I'm going to go to the movie. And what happens is your brain starts to rewire. It starts to recondition to this new way of thinking that, yeah, things are hard and we can do more. And it starts to open up and expand again, and things that were once really hard and difficult start to become easier and more manageable, and they make more sense. So practicing this form of acceptance in your life, of replacing the word but, I want to go to the movie but I feel like crap, with and I want to go to the movie and I feel like crap. That's okay. It's a place to start, and that's practicing the acceptance and going anyway, living your life anyway. And what we found, and what I found with people, is that maybe your emotional pain, let's just say on a scale of 0 to 10, is normally like a 7. And if you stay home from going out with your friends, it goes up to like a 9, and you're more likely to use or be depressed or sad. But if you go with your friends, maybe your emotional pain is still a 7, but when you go with them, it goes down to like a 5. So your quality of life actually improves even with your pain, with your trauma, regardless. And if you do some of the other things we talked about in some of my other videos, living purposefully, engaging in positive things, and engaging in your higher power, you're going to find improvement in your life. So practice acceptance this week the best you can. Replace the word but with and go out there and do life. Be a human doing, not just a human being. If you like today's video, hit like, drop a comment, subscribe, share. Help us out here. Let's grow this knowledge and get people the help they need. Thank you so much. Have a good day.